Alright, I'm going to show you how to make some honey wheat no-knead bread. And no-knead recipe, if you haven't seen any of my other videos, is a recipe for yeast risen bread that does not require you to knead it. Kneading being turning and pushing and folding the dough. Okay, first thing we're going to do is add 6 cups of hot to the touch, out of the tap water. Not to where it burns you, but you know, you want it to wake up your yeast. Okay, so that is 6 cups of water. Then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of powdered dried yeast. And for those of you that have seen my master recipe, this is looking familiar, but it's gonna switch up on you in a second. I'm just gonna go ahead and get this yeast to break down a bit, unclump from itself, and wake up. Now, a lot of recipes, whether they're no-knead or traditional kneaded bread, which I have a great appreciation for, and eventually I'll do videos of that. When you're making anything with whole wheat or heavier flours, anything that hasn't been sieved of its husk, basically, they call for a lot more yeast. Or starter, whichever you're going to have to do the same thing, to be able to rise the dough properly. But right here, after I'm done mixing this in, is where this recipe stops being anything like the master recipe. So, you can see I've pretty much gotten that yeast to break up. Now, instead of adding the normal ingredient that went in my master recipe next, I'm going to go ahead and add 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of liquefied raw honey. It doesn't have to be raw honey, I just prefer it. Definitely warm it up to where it's, you know, water consistency, or it's a lot harder to get it in there. And then I'm going to mix that in. And see, now what that's going to do is turbocharge my yeast. It's going to have more to eat off of. It's going to have sugars to agitate it. And that's a good thing. And I use raw honey because, well, it's a controversial subject, but if you're buying honey from the store and it's been pasteurized, you might as well just be eating corn syrup because all the nutrition is gone out of it. Now you say, well, you're going to bake it, it's going to get hot, it's going to technically be pasteurized. Yeah, but that nutrition, is still in there as it's baking. So instead of being cooked away, it actually becomes a part of your bread. And it actually, I have done just experiments for my own peace of mind, and the raw honey always gives a better rise in anything I'm doing than the refined, processed, boiled honey. So now I'm going to add only 1 tablespoon of salt. It's really important. 1 tablespoon, just 1. You have to have salt in a majority of your breads or you're really going to lose that flavor. But like with my master recipe that calls for a larger amount, you put that amount in here, you lose the taste, the sweetness we're looking for. 4 tablespoons may seem like a lot of honey, but it's not. Everything is all combined here. We're going to go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients, which is 10 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour, and 3 cups whole wheat. That may not seem like a lot of whole wheat, but that's the recipe that I have made, and it's the one I like. It is, you still got your whole wheat in there, and you still have that great whole wheat taste, and it's a nice thick bread. So I'm going to start from the outside. This is the easiest way to stir it. Just start working your way from the outside in. You want to get all this along here because it tends to stick. And then you're on the inside. Again, it's going to seem like you need more liquid, but you don't, I promise. You just really got to get in there and turn it into itself. Don't knead it, just get that bottom up to the top and the center out to the sides. You're splitting it open where all that moisture is hiding. As you watch, you can slowly see it all come together. Paying attention to the sides here, making sure that you scrape all of that. And if you don't mix this well, you can end up with little flour pockets in your bread, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but if you end up with that, you'll know next time that you need to mix a little bit better. I'm going to start pulling it from the bottom again, just kind of rolling it this way. And this smells really good. You can smell the yeast waking up, and the whole wheat, and just a slight hint of the honey. Pulling it this way again. You can see how it's all that dryness is basically gone. And now I'm just going to start going back and forth. Make sure you have a fork that's comfortable in your hand to hold, or it's a pain in the butt. Because, I mean, this is really sticky dough, and it's never not sticky, but it's also very stiff at the same time. So I'm able to see these little pockets in there of the flour that would be a pocket of flour in your dough. I'm just kind of mixing it in there. Of course, anytime you're doing a denser flour, it's a little harder to stir to combine together. So now I'm just going to go back and forth until we get this evened out. And it obviously doesn't need a level put on top of it, but just this helps it give a more even rise. Doesn't have to spread out or expand before it goes up. And it's just that last little bit of stirring in. Alright. And that, I'm just going to go on the sides again. Make sure everything's down in there. Okay. And then we put our lid on it. It's absolutely imperative that whatever container you use, that it is not airtight, and it will go boom. You need to drill a minimum of 3 holes and a maximum of 6. Any more than 6, you get too much air ventilation. Any less than 3, not enough, and then you can affect your rise. I've explained in other videos that I don't condone this type of rising for normal bread. It doesn't get the proper air circulation, but since we're not punching down this dough, which is something you do with a kneaded bread, you are just going to let this rise until it drops. And let me check the time real fast, and I'll tell you what time it is now, and I'll show you how fast it rises. And then we can use it. So, 1 second. Okay, let me grab this. It is 3 o'clock, and that is where our dough line is at, right there. So let's come back, and probably about an hour I'm going to say it's going to be pushing this top, especially with that honey. It's really going to give it a boost. So we'll see you when it's fully risen. Okay, it is 3:47, so in exactly 47 minutes, it has completely rised and dropped. And I'm just going to vent it a little bit more. We're going to go ahead and stick it out on the porch and let it get cooled off, and then that'll take a couple hours, and then bake a loaf of bread for dinner. So we'll see you in a bit. Okay, the dough has dropped all the way, and it's done a really good drop. Let me tip it up here. You can see where it pulled all the way down from the top, because remember it was touching the top of the lid. You can see where it was touching all that, and it dropped all the way down. That's a good thing. You want a long drop. This can be made like a free-form artisan loaf, but since I've shown you how to do that in prior videos, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make this into a loaf. And this you can use this with my master no knead recipe as well, the loaf technique, which is not that complicated. So if you haven't watched that video, I'll say it again. I have only let this bread cool for a couple of hours. If it's your first time, you should probably go ahead and let it cool overnight, and then as you get accustomed to it, working with it, because it's extremely sticky dough even when it's cold. The colder it is, the easier it is to work with. So right now this looks relatively easy, but I've been doing it for a while. I can still feel the warmth actually, and it's been sitting outside in, 15-degree weather for 2 hours. Okay, so right into the pan it goes, just like that. I'm using my cast iron pan, so you can use glass, whatever you choose. Now you notice that I'm putting the flour over it. Well, it helps it be usable. You're still going to have to use that same amount of flour, even when it's cold. Just makes it easier to work with. See, what I do is you fold it under. See how I'm folding it? Now that'd be a lot easier if it was, see how sticky that is? If it was cold. That loaf is going to be bigger than the other one. It's right in there. So now I'm going to set this aside. Whoa! I caught it. That's what counts. Let me make sure you can still see what I'm doing. Okay. Hey, that's not bad. That's the first time I've had one fall on me in, I think, 50 plus videos, so we're doing alright. Alright. You can see again. Hopefully you could see the whole time. I don't know how much the camera shifted. Okay. Disaster averted. I'm going to clip this lid back on. And then I'm going to give them a little bit of a gluten cloak, which helps them bake. I've oiled these pans really well, even though that they're good and seasoned, you still want to oil them. This gluten cloak helps them rise, helps them bake higher, and it also helps me take this serrated knife and give a nice slit without it sticking. Did that without the flour, even if the dough was cold. It wouldn't go so well. I'm going to let these sit. They could bake right now, because it's, I mean, you can, when you learn how to use this stuff without getting it cold, you can bake right away. You don't have to let it re-rise. But since it did chill a little bit, I'm going to let them rise back up, probably for about, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. So we'll see you then, and I'll show you what it looks like when they rise. Okay, I've only actually let them raise for about 10 minutes because I looked at the clock, and I am making a video for you guys, but I'm also cooking dinner for my family. But you can also see just in that 10 minutes, you see how the slit has separated on both, so they have given some raise, and they've even, you know, filled out quite a bit. So I'm going to bake these for an hour at 350 degrees, and I'll show you when they come out. Okay, we have some really nice shaped loaves here, and see that split just gives them that beautiful crown, and they have a really nice soft crust. If you're cooking with cast iron, it's really important, and I didn't loosen these. I would burn myself if I touched these loaf pans right now, but this is why cast iron is fantastic. Oh, it's hot. I can just take it right out, just like that. Alright, I'll show you. That's a nice loaf. That's my hand right there. Now, they come out a little bit more uniform if you're working with colder dough, because you can work it with your hands longer. Beautiful. It should have that nice hollow sound when you thump it, especially on the bottom. You know it's done for the most part. Ooh, it's hot. It's important to take it out not only for your bread because it'll get soggy in the cast iron, but it'll also, it's bad for your cast iron because all that moisture is condensing on it, and it tends to make it sticky if you don't take it out. Now, once these are cool, I'm just going to wipe them down with the rag to get the flour off and a quick coating of oil, and they're good to be stored away again, and probably till tomorrow, tomorrow evening until we bake some more. So, there you are. It's easy to do. I did that, you know, while cooking a chicken in the oven. I'll probably do a video at some point in time when of how to cook these on top of a wood stove as well. So look ahead for that. So hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you give baking bread a try, because it can save you a lot of money, and you'll know where your bread comes from. Alright, bye.